Hey there everybody, welcome to Tech Tickle. Today is NDA drop day for the GTX 1080 and predictably, of course, I have nothing to say about it because I don't really do the new hardware thing. I focus on hardware that has long since had its media day, and I take that and I put it in a machine and I come up with a competent, modern 1080p gaming rig that you can put together yourself for like nothing money. Today's build should be interesting. It's certainly going to be a little bit louder than the others because I've got an AMD stock cooler in it. So stay tuned. All right, it's time for the part list. You guys know how this goes. I'm going to start things off with the CPU motherboard combo and work my way down my little spreadsheet here. So, part number one, motherboard, Gigabyte 990XA-UD3. The CPU I've got paired with it, AMD Phenom 2 quad-core 965 Black Edition. I have raved about this fucking thing since I started my channel. It's a great budget value CPU, and if you watched my last video, you know exactly why, because it's a true quad core with the same single-threaded performance that you would find in an Athlon 860K, with a little less overclockability, so it makes a fucking great option at this price point, which happens to be $30 for the CPU and $40 for the motherboard for a total of $70 for the combo. Pretty damn good. You couple that with the $20 I paid for the 4 sticks of 2GB DDR3 RAM, and that brings the total up to $90. Next up, we have the SanDisk SSD Plus 240GB. It was part of that big fucking lot of shit I bought a while ago with the 25 SSDs, paid $45 for it. Graphics card, Zotac. Whoa. GTX 580 1.5 gigabytes. You might have seen this in my last part vlog. I decided to use it in this build because I think it's a good pairing. That means that I've got an AMD CPU paired up with an NVIDIA graphics card, which is fucking sacrilege, I know, but trust me, it'll be well worth it in the end. Paid $75 for that. Next up, OCZ Stealth Extreme 700 watt power supply. It's a reasonably well-reviewed unit, good internal components. It didn't have a speck of dust on it, and it met all of the power delivery requirements that I needed for this build, and it performed up to spec, no problem. For $20, you really can't go wrong. And as for why I chose a 700 watt power supply for this build, well, frankly, it's overkill, but you take what you can get. I would have paid $20 for a 500 watt power supply if it were available, but I found a 700 watt. So for whoever buys this system off of me in the future, they're going to have a degree of expandability, which is actually good considering the motherboard I put in it. It goes all the way up to AMD FX processors, so they're going to have a lot of options for the future. And as for the case, I paid $15 for a brand new Chief Tech Dragon. Yeah, you remember the Chief Tech Dragon? Well, guess what? I know a store here in the Toronto area that has like mountains of overstock. Like, you should see it. It's crazy. They have like at least 50 of each color. This happens to be one of their red ones. It's $15 for a brand new old school full tower case. It's aluminum construction. It's light as fuck. It's got a side window. If you like that retro futurism kind of PC look, this is absolutely brilliant. And being that it's brand new, it's just amazing. And I buy as many of these as I can fit in my car whenever I go to stock up on them. My micro ATX go-to is that Xeon X310 that I always use. This is the one I use 9 times out of 10 whenever I'm putting together a full ATX build. And I'm using the stock cooler for the record because overclocking the Phenom 2 is almost pointless. You're lucky to get it up to 3.8 gigahertz some of the time, so not worth the money to invest in an aftermarket cooler just to get a bit more juice out of it. So when you add all that up, this is a $245 Canadian build. You tack on an extra $40 or so for OEM Windows 10, and you got a $285 system. And the benchmarks are coming up next, so we're going to see firsthand exactly how it performs and how it stacks up against some of the other builds I put together in the last little while. So stay tuned. Okay, so before we begin, let me start by saying that I know my bright white shorts look kind of weird with my dark black socks, but considering I wasn't wearing anything before filming, you all should just be happy that I bothered to cover up. Anyway, moving on to the benchmarks. I was not quite sure which of my performance tiers to slot this system into. Tier A systems, there have been 3 of them so far. I knew it would sort of perform on the bottom end, and among the Tier B systems, of which there's only been one other, I knew it would be kind of strong. So I put them in both and decided to bench this thing against both categories and all 4 of the build vlogs that I have put together to date. And here's how it turned out. First, we'll start with Tier A. As you can see by these numbers here, it was the worst performing of the 4 systems in terms of raw performance, but sat very comfortably in the middle at $6.02 per FPS. Not the best I've ever done, but certainly not the worst, and a very good bang for buck for the average person looking to get a very enjoyable gaming experience for very little money. Can't go wrong for sub $300 Canadian for this kind of performance. A couple of things I would like to note and point out. System 2 involved an R9 270 and a Phenom 2 965 Black Edition. As for why this system with a GTX 580 performed worse, I'm not really sure, to be honest. The GTX 580 is a stronger graphics card on paper than an R9 270, and a lot of benchmarks around the internet will verify that, especially if you compare it to its older cousin, the Radeon 7850. But I suspect that VRAM limitations and things like that might have been the culprit here, and the two cards are close enough that it makes some degree of sense. Okay, on to Tier B. So here we have System 5 versus System 3. BuildVlog 3 is my most popular video to date of that sort. And as you can see, System 5 absolutely crushes it in raw performance, but in terms of FPS per dollar, we come in at $4.12 versus $3.71, so this clearly loses on that front as well. Still, what I would consider to be a great value for anyone looking for a satisfying 1080p gaming experience, but definitely not the best that you nor I could do. Anyway, back to Desk Jeff. Okay, so there we have it. BuildVlog number 5 is in the books. Just for the record, I don't necessarily showcase all of the computers I build, but the ones I do showcase, I showcase for a reason, and this one, the theme was upgrade potential. We had a 990FX motherboard paired with a 700 watt power supply, and for sub $300, you get a really good performing system now that has some upgrade potential later. And I know I bash on FX processors a lot for having poor single-threaded performance, but thanks to DirectX 12 and multi-thread optimization becoming more ubiquitous, they have a degree of viability they never enjoyed before, and someone might want to upgrade to them in the future. Okay, we're gonna call that one a video. Hit me up on Reddit. Follow me on Twitter at OFA. I'm always hanging around the Build a PC and PC Gaming and PC Master Race subreddits, answering questions and trying my best to dispel myths that people insist on fucking spreading despite being untrue. And I'll have my rage issues in check for the next video, and thanks for watching.